clock, so I think we need to get one of these countdown clock things. Yeah. And play some good bumper music and stuff on it. I think I watched the Star Trek Beyond, and they had the Beastie Boys. It was on part of the playing music. Anyway, so hey, welcome everybody to Cyber Life. It's me again, your wonderful host. I'll be self-aggrandizing, Gary. I'll call myself a wonderful host, the Doug Thompson. And with me, I've got Ron Craig.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you all again.
And we have part two of, well, this is actually Gary Berman, but we're going to talk about part two of how he became this comic book hero in his life and all that. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming on. Let us know where you're from, just sort of where you're tuning in from. That's always fun, just get some worldwide coverage on that. And Ron, where did we leave off with Gary?
Well, we were talking about his story. So to give it a bit of a recap, it was about the whole, the insider threat. And, I think as Gary and I talked about in the past, we kind of look at it as kind of the anatomy of an attack. And his attack that happened against him was probably one of the more advanced, prolonged, and obviously stressful and devastating that I've ever witnessed personally in my career. So that's why we're kind of having him on, to kind of give people the insights and some education to say, this is what has happened. And so I think, it's good to maybe, Gary, if you can give us just maybe a couple minute recap of kind of the story, and then we'll jump into part two after that.
Thanks so much, Doug and Ron, for having me. This is incredibly important as part of the catharsis and the healing, if you will, of what happened to not just me, but to about 100 of my employees. To make a very long story short, many years ago, unbeknownst to me, while I was out during a serious illness, my right-hand person and some tech contractors essentially cloned our company. We had a marketing communications company, and they created a whole shadow company and identity, and used identity theft, social engineering, and just about 19 different attack vectors, all in all, to basically steal what ended up being several $1 million from my wife and I. Unable to receive justice due to the difficulty of attribution and obfuscation and things like that, I decided, after many years of never talking about this to anyone, because first of all, I really didn't understand the fullness of what had happened, because it's just such an unbelievable story. I decided to pivot from being a victim, because as we all know, being a victim is just exhausting and unfortunately not very unique. In the world, there are too many victims of everything, to become an advocate. And the challenge there is I was, 60 years of age, and I knew nothing about cybersecurity, nothing about technology, but everything about kind of the pain and suffering of what it meant to be victimized by it. So I got a book called Cybersecurity for Dummies. Have you seen those yellow books with the black stripe? And I thought, okay, perfect. And 10 pages into a book called Cybersecurity for Dummies, I was lost. So rather than giving up, I found the author, a great guy, Asisa from Palo Alto Networks, and I told him that, and he starts cracking up, just kind of laughing. So I'm sitting here laughing with, this nice guy having just lost everything. And so finally he calmed down, and I said, may I ask, why are you laughing? He goes, well, it's not really for beginners. And that's when it hit me. There had to be a better way to distill complicated cybersecurity and technology information into something that the rest of the world could get their heads around, including, big businesses, small businesses, organizations, children, everybody. And so I started to listen and learn about cybersecurity. I ended up going to 53 cybersecurity conferences in 3 years. I am somewhat of a type A, if you probably can't pick up on that. I start every day at 4 a.m., but that's a different story for a moment. And I'm not a morning person, so you should wonder about that. So I after realizing there had to be a better way to distill this complicated information, I happened to see Spider-Man, and that's when the light bulb went out. Superhero comics. And the only problem with that is not only did I know nothing about the subject, I knew even less about superheroes or how to do comics. And so I went to my first Comic-Con. I was dressed in a tan blazer and a white shirt, and sort of with my backpack like a conference. And no sooner did I get out of my car in the parking lot at this conference that a woman in giant butterfly wings and a green face with two antennas came up and said, "Sir, I think you're overdressed." And that was my entrance into this insane but incredibly amazing digital universe of which all of your listeners are participants.
Well, that's definitely quite the story for sure. Comic books, I mean, is not a bad approach, because everybody likes superheroes. It's such a love of many people. So it's actually a beautiful marriage, really, when you think about how to, because, as people, I guess all three of us, in the content world, is we're always kind of struggling and looking for new ideas to say, how do we deliver our message in different ways? Now, I have never adorned spandex. I'm not above it.
Oh, okay.
I can try.
No. Wait, listen, you still have a chance, because I'm going to show you something that literally no one has ever seen. And this has nothing to do with anything. So ready? I'm going to show you something right here. Let me just...
We're going to get kicked off the air for this?
No. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's
an impressive calf.
And really, what's funny about that is it's not a superhero costume. I don't really, do that, but it does help with my their compression socks, and they make my calves feel better. So I happen to just pick out these colors.
Is there any for those for the midsection? Because
no.
It's an absolutely amazing story, and I definitely appreciate you sharing that and what you're doing. One thing that as I've been doing for the last couple of years is trying to distill complex information myself to a wide variety of people in all different demographics and levels of experience and knowledge, from people who don't really know much about technology at all, even up to people who, let's say, use technology every day, but maybe don't understand the security aspects and how to do so safely, kind of just sort of blind shooting in the dark, using things without giving much thought to it. So I definitely do appreciate having, more people in the industry actually helping get that message across, because we really do need it.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. And for sure, it's true. And one of the things that I listened and learned from attending all these cybersecurity conferences is, sort of this 80-20 rule where, about 80% of the time and money spent in cybersecurity, the whole ecosystem, is spent on technology solutions. And yet about 80 or more percent of the hacks are caused by simple human error. So it seems like there's almost, inverse relationship on how things are going. I understand why, because you need technology solutions. But, I heard something recently that in a large enterprise, CISOs have something like 47 or more solutions in their security stack. And, maybe don't even know they have visibility, into the interoperability of those things and stuff like that. So I thought, let's see if there's a way to use real life stories of cybercrime, which is the source of our content, actually via LinkedIn. When I first began this part of the journey, I wanted to see if I could solicit stories that were true, just to make cybersecurity cool and interesting and action oriented, and to create anthropomorphize hacks like Wilbur WannaCry or Boris the Bug or Vernon the Virus, And so I put out a missive to CISOs and CSOs, and I asked them to send me real life blinded stories of cybercrime, answering the question, what happened, what were the consequences, and what were the lessons learned. And last time I checked, I have over 22,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I don't even really do social media yet. So it tells me that there's this wellspring of unsung cyber heroes who toil in anonymity to keep us safe at work, home, and school. And I've made it our organization's mission to shine the light on them, like you guys, and your listeners, to say thank you. So, well, one of the joys, forgive the interruption, one of the joys of working from home, which I assume many of your listeners experience, is I just heard the doorbell. We're getting a new washing machine and dryer, and my wife would kill me. I have to just let him in. Can you just excuse me?
There is an order of importance here, so please go ahead, and we'll.
Right, yeah, so sorry.
So Ron, he talks about the plethora of security tools, and sometimes I wonder, and I get to have discussion with people. You have all these point solutions which don't play nicely with each other. So as you're talking to your customers and advice, what's your suggestion on, is a suite of all the best things always the best solutions, or is it things that you can manage and actually get good insight? Is that a better way to approach it?
Well, I always go for the insight, because you can't protect what you don't know about. And I think there's a lot of competing solutions out there, and of course we see in this industry, and I think it's a lot like in a lot of industries, is our product is the best, our product does this, oh, we have AI, we have this. So, to make sense of really what's coming at you, I think it's really important to have a good advisor. So I think when you're inside the company and somebody's coming at you, there's, there could be 10 different security companies saying, buy our solution, buy our EDR, buy our antivirus, buy this. And of course, you're sitting there with a bombardment of pitches, which probably puts you in a ditch. Because you just want to roll over it. Like, what do you do?
If you can't get the intelligence and stuff out of it, the best of breed of everything is not going to help you.
No, and also having the ability to maintain it. We talk about security and privacy, and I think some of these solutions too are cloud-based, and everything is kind of off your radar and out of your control. And to me, it's almost kind of an irony. Right. It's like, get more secure, but we don't have any visibility into the solutions that we're using.
Visibility here. This is strange. I think something's happened to Gary.
What?
Well,
yeah. Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry. Gary had to step out. Evidently, there was some laundry or something that he had to do. But he asked me if I would just step in and try to complete his mission. So I'm not sure what were you all talking about?
I'm speechless.
It was trivial compared to getting our superhero in here to talk about security and all. So I think you can have the best of breed of everything. You can have the best superheroes around, but if you can't get insight into what their powers are, then what good are they?
Well, that's a pretty profound thought. That's above my particular skill set. But what I can tell you is that to distilling complicated technology information into cool cyberhero stories that capture the imagination of CISOs and children in the same exact way, because one of the things that I learned in my sort of superhero journey is that we all have an inner child. And then you know what happens? Life. And so what I love doing is providing kind of this, platform, this safe area where people can play again. And even though the subject matter of what we're all discussing is literally life or death, in many cases, you still can have fun with the inner child and share real life stories of cybercrime in a cool, interesting way, And one of my missions that I'm sure Gary, is aligned with is to excite the next generation of children to take science, technology, art, engineering, and math, to make cybersecurity, cool for college kids, that they're going to want to, have a great career in cybersecurity and stuff like that. And that we all have this inner child. So come out and play, everybody. You can be serious and do the right thing.
Well, Gary, I think you're catching on because now I've got somebody at the door. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. You know,
apparently I didn't get the memo.
well, you know, I have to tell you and your audience something. It's actually just me.
Right. I didn't read. We're going to ride in and just really ruin this day. All right, Gary. All right, Ron, where's yours?
Hold on. I'll be.
Who is that character that you just showed us?
That was Mr. Biddles. He's my nemesis on a lot of things on that one. So it came about. He's not as good with security, but he's always good for whipping in shape.
I had to go in and raid my my daughter's.
Oh,
this is cyber kitty. I don't know.
Well, you know what?
Remember, turn on your two-factor authentication. I don't know.
You speak about the two-factor today, Ron, and unfortunately, we're not live on LinkedIn. We're live on everything else. Something happened. I sent a notice out today, so it is going to YouTube. But yeah, I think I must have missed an MFA request or something on the app. So,
oh wow.
On my part, Mr. Biddles will be talking to me later about it, I'm sure.
Oh, we can take the video and repost it. That's okay.
Yeah,
we got these guys here.
But I think
well, you know,
when we take life so seriously, we get very myopic in our view about things. And one of the things I've noticed, especially from my grandkids and stuff on that, is that they see things that we don't see because they've got this wide angle view about life because everything's new and everything's coming in, and they always think about what if. And I think we miss that. And I think from a security perspective, if we're so focused on, say, phishing or this other thing, that we leave ourselves open for an attack in an area that we don't see.
Yeah, and you know, to just kind of build on that, I have a few images that you know, I can share with everybody. Can you see my screen there, Doug?
Yeah, I have it up now.
So you know, this was actually the conference that I was mentioning. You can see I'm wearing my white shirt and just with some characters, and this is a very famous comic store that carried our stuff. Someone gave me a cape. That's my sound in the background that you can see there. I also had to learn about how to tell stories. You know, that's not easy. I have found, but I latched on to this guy, Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, who talks about the monomyth and stuff like that. And then this is the first cover of the comic that we came up with. And the reason that I mentioned earlier that I started at 4 a.m. is because I was working with some overseas illustrators just at first before I had my own team. And that's what we came up with. But then I started studying Marvel, Stan Lee, rest in peace. And I just watched YouTube videos and just learned about how they do things. And this is what we came up with. All of our characters are real people, which is really, you know, quite a blessing. And they love being featured in the comic because they're immortalized. Half our characters are women and Hispanic or African American or Asian. And so this is an example of a real character. This guy's name is Jack, who's a pseudonym, and he's just a brilliant young person in cybersecurity. So that's the character, and that's our first solo flight. And people were posting hundreds of pictures. I autographed 4,250 comics at DEF CON. I mean, who runs out of Sharpie ink? Come on. So this is a real life story of a business email compromise, and we put a lot of action and emotion into things. And these are some of our characters: Queen Geo, there's Larry Joan, Terabyte, the super coder, Justina, the defender, and a wonderful veteran. And we have the presenter here. And these are some of the villains: Boris the Bug, Wilbur Ransom, you know, Wilbur WannaCry, Phoebe the Fisher, which is super cool, and Sonny the social engineer, Ivan the ID thief, Randall the remote access Trojan, and I'm hosting now, you know, a show with some of the most important people around the world in cybersecurity, and we just won an award, you know, for that. And we're creating a virtual reality training, 3D stuff, and And this is super cool. This is a prototype.
I'm Phoebe Fisher. The Fisher hunts its prey by pretending to be legitimate communication from a trusted company or from the hijacked identity of a friend, colleague, or family member. Using one of many ruses, the Fisher encourages the potential victim to divulge sensitive information such as login IDs, passwords, PINs, social security numbers, etc. This information is quickly used to steal money from accounts and to apply for fraudulent loans and credit cards.
So we're doing a whole series of training videos, and one of the cool things about the costume that you see here is I'm actually invisible, because the green screen that we deploy is the same color as my costume. And I wish I could say that was some genius thing, but that was just an accident.
Sometimes accidents are the best way to do things, and I like how you had the fishing, which tied on to sort of last week's or week. I don't remember. We went fishing sometime. We got on a boat. We ran out of. We caught our limit, I think, that day.
Yeah, episode 2, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gary, I really love what you're doing, and again, you bring such a great angle to it. Having 4,000 people want your autograph indicates that you're filling a need. I mean, that's a big tribe there to go do, and sharing your story, again, storytelling is about connecting. And we're all sort of wired to do it, but we forget about it after a bit, because I listen to my kids tell stories, and they're such great storytellers that they come up, and it's like, wow. And so, if you want, storytelling's my gig. I'm happy to talk to you about it as well. If Mr. Biddles lets me out of the doghouse.
Well, I mean, just speaking of dog, yesterday I was interviewing a guy. This is unbelievable. He was the offensive cyber guy to fight narco trafficking in Colombia against the FARC, the FARC. And he was telling me, his journey and how it went about it. And he was doing SIGNET, signal intelligence and all that kind of stuff. I said, hey, what's that in your background? And he had some picture of some art, just 4 little things of art. And I said, what is that? And he said, oh, our engineers, each of them draw, something that we put up in our rooms. And I said, are they professional artists? Or he said, no, these are just regular people. And so he said, let me show you the hot dog room. And I went, what? So he goes and he takes his laptop and shows me this conference room that had all these hot dogs, pictures of hot dogs. And you know what I thought?
Oh, man. Well, now I'm hungry. So Gary, thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again in a future episode on that. You've got a lot of great stories to tell and a lot of ways that you can help us out here. Ron, I see you're occupying something. I'm not sure what you're occupying, but
Occupy Mars.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I think cybersecurity is not as big a thing on Mars. Yeah.
No, well, you never know. I mean, those Martians, they're getting pretty good.
I'm like Marvin the Martian. He's my favorite one.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody on that. We're at the time limit. Join us again next week, where I promise to get the LinkedIn thing fixed on that one. And Mr. Biddles may come back. Who knows? And the kitty, the security kitty or unicorn. What is that?
This one, yes, Cyber Kitty.
We'll definitely have Gary back. And please, we'll
see with the light.
We'll share some things. If reach out to him if you want to check the comics out, connect with him. He's a great person. And we thanks for joining us again on this Cyber Live. We'll see y'all next week.
Okay.